Okay, I think we can get started today. So once again, everybody, I'm Scott Lavin. I'm the Director of Research and Partnerships for the Council to Advance Hunting in the Shooting Sports. And we want to thank you for joining our national webinar platform. Just some housekeeping things because of the number of attendees. And we absolutely want your questions and feedback. So there's going to be time at the end for questions. If you have questions, please enter them in the chat. The icons are at the bottom of your screen, and I'll facilitate those questions at the end of the presentation. We have a really great presentation today. I'm really excited for this research and the findings on welcoming new shooters. You know, a lot of times historically in our industry, we kind of had a built it and they will come mentality, and just having a welcoming door is no longer enough to keep and retain customers. So I was really excited to see this project. I want to thank Outdoor Stewards of Conservation Foundation, Southwick Associates, and DJ Case for this important work. And with that, we're going to kick it off. I'd like to introduce Jim Curcuruto, the Executive Director of Outdoor Stewards of Conservation Foundation, and Rob Southwick, President of Southwick Associates. And with that, I turn it over to you, Jim.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott, and thank you, the team at Council, to let us provide this information to everybody. Lance, yourself, and I hear you guys have a new director, executive director. I've heard good things about him, so excited to hear what will be coming out of the council soon. But real quick about Outdoor Stewards of Conservation Foundation, we were formed in 2021. Really focus on research programs and communications, and you can learn all about that at outdoorstewards.org. We won't go through that list, but we've got a lot of research and programs available for you at outdoorstewards.org. Next slide, sir. All right. So again, as Scott mentioned, it is exciting that we are doing research and learning new things. In this instance, welcoming new shooters, it's not the newest thing out there, but it does justify that we need to take action, and for a lot of reasons. One, shooting sports continuing after all the years of R3 that we've done, predominantly white male. And the demographics of the US are changing. Non-Hispanic whites will be a minority in 25 years. Southwick's data recently shows that current sales are flattening, not good for the PR model. And just a few months ago, National Shooting Sports Foundation released their target shooting participation report, showed a very alarming statistic that we really hadn't seen since the start of that survey, which was 2009, I believe. It had continued to rise in participation in target shooting, but in 2024, they show a 17% decline over 2022, went from 63 million participants in target shooting in 2022 to 53 million participants in 2024. So a significant decline. And it just shows you that we really do need to act and just can't sit on our laurels and say, oh, okay, we got good participation. Let's see what happens. But we always got to market. We always got to communicate. We always got to invite new participants out there. And just good timing for this project that came along. I want to thank the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and AFWA for all their support in this, because without doing this, without a multi-state grant, Rob and DJ Case and Outdoor Stewards, we wouldn't be able to do this research. So big thanks to all the partners on this. And I think what we'll do is get right into some of the results and recommendations. So Rob, take it away.
All right, Jim, I appreciate that. Thank you. So I'm going to present on behalf of the research team, the Southwick Associates, and we also worked with DJ Case and Associates, as Jim has mentioned. It's been a very successful partnership in many R3 related projects lately. A little bit about Southwick Associates. We've been in business now for 35 years. During this time, we have focused on assisting state fish and wildlife agencies and the hunting and fishing target shooting industry. That's like industry associations such as NSSF, ASA, and so forth. So we specialize in knowing why people participate, what the trends are, and what they're doing. We do a lot of work in economic research, how many jobs are supported by these activities. We help people understand what the trends are in participation and product sales, ideal messaging, market research in general, consumer segmentation, and more to help our customers make better decisions by having better information. So rolling into the project itself, there are two major data sources we used in this effort. And there were two surveys that we ran, custom surveys. The first one was a national survey to get an idea of the general distribution of the population and the percentages of the audiences that are interested in participating in target shooting. Then the second survey was much more larger survey, much more in depth, where we had 500 completes from the major target audiences for this project to learn more about their motivations and how to get them to go target shooting. That's it for the background. If you have questions about methodology, drop me a note later. Be happy to help you with that. But I'd like to focus more on the results for this webinar. What is interesting is of those people who have never gone target shooting, basically 1/2 to 2/3 have a high level of interest in doing so. So you see here on the screen, the light blue, that's the right side of these boxes here, is the percentage of all males and females who have never been target shooting, but said on a scale of 1 to 5, they'd rank their interest as a 4 or a 5. So we have a lot of folks out there. And what's interesting, as you'll see throughout the numbers here, is that the interest in target shooting doesn't really vary based on what people look like, whether it's gender, whether it's their demographics, their race, ethnicity. It doesn't matter. The desire to go target shooting is universal across everyone. The differences that we see here are rather minor and within this statistical variation of the research. So we have a lot of interest. Well, what we did then is took these proportions and turned them into actual solid numbers. So of those people who said they have on a scale of 1 to 5 interest at 4 or 5 in participating, that equates to 70 million people in the United States who are not from the traditional, I'll call stale pale male audience, who would like to try target shooting. 70 million is quite, we know we can't get all of them to participate, but even if we just get a fraction of them, we'll see significant growth. Okay.
Yeah, well, I got to have my hand up here because when I first saw that, I've been looking at numbers for quite some time, and we've known that there's always been a high interest in getting started target shooting across the board. But 70 million, that number even blew me away. So dig in a little bit about how that number is correct. Give me some specifics on
I
that.
knew you would ask because you asked that before. And actually, when we first did the research, I had the same, like, whoa, wait, because there's only about 50 million people who participate in target shooting currently. So we're talking about a number that's more than double the current levels of participation. So it double the current levels of participation, I should say. So essentially, it's 1 out of 7 people in the United States currently target shoot at some point. Not the average, but even maybe just once a year. So we're talking about getting another 1/7 of the population to participate. That's not out of reach. But also, as you mentioned before, Jimmy, showing your slide, in 25 years, the traditional audience for target shooting is going to be a minority in the United States. So the majority, we're looking for the same proportion of people to participate in target shooting and a little bit more. And that works out to 70 million people out of what will be at that point around 400 million people in the country. So
Right.
it's very plausible. We know not all of them will. A lot of them would really like to, but physical reasons, or it's just too distant, or they have too much else already going on that they're satisfied with. But if we can get 10, 15% of these people to go, major
Right.
difference.
Yeah, we know we have the capacity because we lost 10 million. So, and we don't want to double it overnight. No, nobody's ready for that. But certainly to have that nice, slow, steady growth that we had, we can continue that trajectory by taking advantage of this opportunity.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. Another note I want to make before we get too far into it is that this is not a DEI project. We're talking about folks from various genders, race, ethnicity, but this project is all about increasing participation in target shooting. It doesn't matter what you look like. If you want to go target shooting, we want to help you do so. This is all about growing the business. Doesn't matter where the money comes from, we're all the same.
Yeah. And I like the slide there that all money is green because conservation is green, nature is green, and the model, the North American model that relies on participation for Pittman Robertson funds is important for this as well. So Scott, I see you had your hand up as well.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, your comment is really well made about we don't want everybody overnight. So for the ranges and facilities that are watching this, it's one thing to be armed with this information and to create a plan to grow your business, but you definitely have to be ready to receive an influx of customers. The last thing you want is to have, 10, 20% more people coming to your doors on the weeknights and the weekends, and you're not staffed or you don't have the capacity to handle them. We're going to lose those people and they're going to have a much more negative opinion. So I think the point was well made, Jim.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, rolling on. Let's talk about why these potential new participants want to go target shooting. And then we'll look at the barriers, why they have not. So again, we're focusing on people who have never been target shooting, yet have a high level of interest in trying it. We presented them a list of motivations they could check from why they want to participate. Here's the top 4. What you see here is that the bars on the right shows the percent who checked each motivation based on race and ethnicity. And the differences are not all that great. There's some minor differences. You see, for example, that the African-American market is a little less into the fun and excitement of target shooting. They're more into the skill development and the protection aspect, just slightly. And then you see, for example, the Asian market's more into the challenge. But those differences are still very minor overall. So I hold to my original comment that the reasons why people want to participate doesn't really vary based on what they look like, what they see in the mirror. They're all pretty much the same. If any differences is more in the rural urban split, where folks in more inner city areas are more interested in the skill development and protection for self-protection purposes. If you're interested in the motivations of why people go target shooting and also why they go hunting, and you want more detail, this is about the current participants, there is a free report available from the Western Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies. Just go to their website, to the publications page, and you can download this report. It was also funded by Fish and Wildlife Service Multi-State Conservation Grant. It's free, and it dives more into the personas and segments of people who target, shoot, and hunt. And again, they're very similar to people who have yet to go, but who would like to. All right, so let's now talk about how come they haven't done it. So very early in the survey, before we had them really thinking about why they want to target shoot and why they haven't, we asked them, how come you haven't been target shooting? You just told us you have a high level of interest. We gave them a list of 17 reasons. Number 1, after everybody checked their answers, was they're saying, I don't want a firearm. Well, of course, I mean, until you try it and know how much fun it is or how easy it is, you're not going to go buy one. So of course they don't own one yet. Second reason was, I think it'd be too expensive. Well, again, until you actually try it, everything is expensive. Think of the activities and hobbies you do now. They look expensive to others, but to you, they're worth it because the benefits and enjoyment you get out of it. Third common reason was they don't know which type of firearm to try. Of course, they haven't been yet. Someone needs to show them when they get there and let them try different things and talk with them. And then they said they don't have anyone to go with. Well, we know there's 70 million people out there. And so there are people out there. We just need to get them to talk about it, talk with their friends. And they're going to find people that say, hey, I'd like to try that too. These are people generally who come from communities where target shooting is not that common. So they may not have a friend who's already target shooting, or else they would have gone. Some cases they do, but they still need that connection. It's not we got down to reason number 15 out of 17 that we heard them say, I don't think I'd feel safe. This is an important point because in any kind of research project, market research, people often don't know why they did something or why they don't do something. They have to really think about it. So smart research, you don't take their answers off the top of their head as the gospel truth, because a lot of cases it's not. You need to talk to them, engage them, peel away layers of the onion to get to the core truth. So I'm summarizing a bunch of tables that you can look at later in the report. We'll tell you how you can get that for free towards the end here. But synthesizing all the research,
I mean,
This is the overall reason why
I'm gonna
they
go
are.
back to that slide, Rob. I mean, we,
Great.
we've been doing a lot of research together over years, and it always cracked me up some of the things that, people say, I don't have the time or I don't have the money. Those are always top two things, but you always have everybody's got 24 hours and, and the cost of anything can be expensive or can be cheap, right? If we know we can go to the gun store and buy a $300 gun or a $3,000 gun, and you can find, cheap places to shoot on public lands or at state-run facilities. So it is as expensive or as cheap as we want it to be. So a lot of those top ones, can be solved by asking somebody to come with you. You're the one that has the gun. You're the one that has the ammo, the place to go. Invite somebody to come with you because it's a great experience to do that. And we all got customer bases, whether you're a DNR or a manufacturer or a retailer. You've got current gun owners that are more than willing to, bring somebody with them. They just need a little nudge to do so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so boiling down the reason why they have not made that initiative on their own to find someone and to go, it comes down to this perception of safety. And without a doubt, perception is reality. Us, the regular target shooters, we know it's safe. That's our perception. Therefore, it's our reality. We go without fear of safety. Not true with our beginners. So for them, they want to know that they will be safe, and they want to know that they will not be a danger to others around them. They don't want to take any chance of harming somebody else. So this is the perception we have to overcome. We have to change their reality. So we'll talk about that. So how do we bring them in? How do we help them overcome these perceptions that we may not fully agree with, but is their reality? So that thing is, we have to get certain ideas and understandings in their mind for them to go. They're not going to come to a range or a firearm retail store and ask and learn, or else they would have already done so. So we have to reach them where they are currently, and then maybe they'll come visit us. So number one thing we have to help them understand is safety is an absolute priority at every step of the way when you visit a range. From the moment you walk in that front door, safety is on everyone's minds, and they will be helping you understand what you have to do to remain safe and helping you remain safe. Second is they want to know what is going to happen. When they walk in, they open that door, they're afraid someone's just going to toss them a firearm and say, go at it. That's a nightmare situation for them. So what will happen? What we'll expect when you go in, you're going to go to the left, you're going to say hello, you're going to sign in, you're going to do safety training, you're going to go over and meet the range safety officer. That says this person does this job. Then you'll be taken over here. Someone can show you. They need to know exactly what is going to happen. They want to know, are there real people there to help them understand? I mean, some of these folks barely know which end of the gun goes bang. They need some basic instruction. They want to know if people will be on hand looking out for their safety to make sure that they're not going to hurt others nor themselves. You already saw, they're concerned about the expense. They know a lot of equipment is involved, but they have no idea what kind of equipment. They may have walked through a store, Dick's Sporting Goods, Target, whatever, seen stuff. They know they need stuff, but they don't know what stuff. They don't know what's appropriate for the situation or what fits them. So do you have it available? Let them know that's available for rent to buy. And there's more too. They're all in the full report, but those are the top 4 that really stood out as holding people back, what they need to know, what we need to help them understand so they make that decision to finally go visit a range.
Well, I'll step in again, Rob. I mean, we've been preaching this for quite some time on the industry side of things, and agencies as well. It's not hard to put a section on your website, resources for new shooters or resources for new hunters, because there are a lot of those 70 million that just don't know step one, right? So put some basic stuff on there. A good example is Gun Smarts from Smith and Wesson. If you go check out what they're putting on their websites, and just basic how to load your gun, what to expect when you go to the range, those type of videos, short videos, informational videos are great resources for the welcoming new shooters.
Yep. And here's where you can go to get them out there so they can read them and see it. What they're telling us is if they're going to go look for a place, an opportunity to go shooting, they're going to start with the search engine. we all do that for just about anything nowadays. And they're going to talk to people. Maybe they know someone who went to a range. Maybe they're going to ask someone about, do you know any decent ranges in the area? Again, a lot of them don't know someone who's an active, regular participant, but they know someone who even has a friend, they're going to ask. They're going to look for reviews on the websites. They want to know, are they welcoming to people like me, beginners? Then look for other reviews. But the key one is to the right over there, the YouTube. As we said before, they want to know what to expect. So it's really, really important that every range, every retail store has a video posted. When you walk in, here's what you're going to see. Here's where you go. Here's the process. Here's what the range looks like. Here's the safety training you're going to go through. Excuse me. So the YouTube video should then be connected to all those on the left.
Yeah, I know the council had done some videos with some prior staff. Swanee and I think, made some videos about that very thing. So there's plenty of resources out there, and just copy and paste what you see out there, make your own, or just put some of these others out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim, the data clearinghouse on the council's website, that's for anybody in our market to use as a resource. And the other thing, we've heard so much in this particular end of the business, if you're a sole proprietor range, this does not have to be a super high quality production, particularly on the YouTube platform. People like more authentic, kind of homegrown media. So having one employee shoot another employee with wrong choice of words, use their phone to capture another employee, entering the range and what that customer journey looks like goes a long way to a first timer's expectations.
Yes. When it comes to the images that you use, whether it's on the video or whether it's still photography, it's definitely true. A picture is 1,000 words, and you may write one thing on your screen, but your picture may say something different, or it might be interpreted not the way you want it to. So we did that in this project. In the survey, we tested a series of images to see which ones would do best to attract first timers to a range. And we tested each photo based on those top motivations to participate. Is it fun? Is it safe? Are they going to be welcoming to beginners and people like me? And will it help me learn how to protect myself, my home, my family, and so forth? So all I'm going to do here is show you 3 pictures, one for each type of one slide, one set for each type of firearm, and let you guess of these 3 pictures that you see here of shotgun activities, which picture do you think was the most highly rated when it comes to appealing to potential first-time target shooters? Give you a couple seconds. All right, here's the answer. The picture on the left, and think about their hesitations or concerns and the reasons to go. They want somewhere safe. Safety is absolute. So you see on the left, you see a controlled environment. You see one there who might be an instructor. You see that looks like people, they're being told what to do. They're all in lockstep here, if you will. So it conveys that, hey, I can do that. It looks like there's some order here. It also shows people beyond the traditional stale pale market that that's a lesser reason for choosing a photo. The picture in the middle was second, mainly because it's not the white male market, but it shows maybe a controlled environment, but there's no second person there that might be keeping an eye on everything, keeping track of it. And you're missing the smiles here. In the left picture on the most preferred, there's some smiles if you can get in there close enough. And the picture on the right scored very similar to the picture in the middle, but just slightly lower. So the next 3 pictures, which picture here do you think appeals most to potential first-time shooters when it comes to traditional rifle? This one is not as hard. It's the one in the middle. The picture in the middle is perfect. You're seeing someone who's the obvious beginner with the rifle up in the foreground of the picture. There's an instructor, and the instructor is looking at the student. That's the key part. Someone is watching me and making sure that I am safe and everybody else is safe. Also, you saw the overarching reason they want to have fun. And here, both are smiling. So the student is not impeding on the instructor. It's a fun time, and they're actually getting to shoot. The other pictures did not score anywhere near as well as the one in the middle. The third one is we tested modern sporting rifles. So this one's a little trickier. 3 pictures. Which ones do you think rated highest? with, again, potential new shooters. They came out statistical tie. The one on the far left, you see that big smile. It looks like a controlled environment, but you don't see another individual close by watching for safety. You see that in the middle picture, but if that gentleman had turned his head, maybe was looking at the person with the rifle, that picture probably would have scored number one. Doesn't really look like a controlled environment, but if someone's there watching, keeping it safe, it scores higher. Picture on the right, really, no one knows what's going on in that picture. It scored really low. And then lastly, we tested handguns, and handguns are the number one type of firearm that potential first-time shooters want to try. So this one's a little tricky. The best picture you think in this group here? Survey says it's the one on the right. Doesn't have to always be someone other than white male. The number one concern is, are beginners like them welcome and treated well? They see themselves as beginners, not as member of some particular racial or ethnic group. So the picture on the right says, hey, this place here looks like there might be someone that can help me. It's a controlled environment. This person has explained to me what I need to do, has an eye on the situation. So that's safety. Again, safety number one. The picture in the middle, even though you see smiles in there, you need to at least show the action, what it's all about. Most of us here have been to ranges. We know what has happened in this picture. The potential first-time shooters may not. Then the picture on the left is not really a controlled environment. You don't see the safety element in there. You don't see someone in there helping the young lady at the range, and she's looking a little uncomfortable too. So again, the picture on the right is best because it shows a controlled environment. It shows an instructor or someone looking over them, and it shows that, hey, I can do that too.
Yeah, I want to go back to that.
Mhm.
The important thing is we're providing you the information. 70 million people out there ready to get off the fence and into the range or field. But it's to do something. I wouldn't nitpick over the pictures as much as putting a picture out there and putting that invitation and information out there. But it does help to know that we have the 3 R's: recruit, retain, reactivate. And as we're going along, you hear 3 S's quite often, right? You hear safety, you hear smiles, and you hear social. It's a social activity. So keep those in mind. Also, just learning from experience, when you post, sometimes if you post a firearm in the picture, it gets flagged for, whatever reason. So take your team to the range, bring some newcomers with you from staff, or it doesn't even have to be newcomers. As we know, a lot of social media is staged photos, but get some pictures, put on your company swag, get your own, product and logos in the photos, and go take a bunch of pictures. But using some of these outlines here that you've seen, I would take some with firearms in and some without firearms in them. But the most important thing is to actually take action and start promoting this, because we know there's a lot of people that are ready to get going once they see the information and some of these images going with it. I think we'll see some success.
I love the idea of the 3 S's. So safety, smiles, and social, absolutely. Because the one thing missing in the most preferred picture here are the smiles. If there was a smile, it'd be even more effective in the picture. All right, so we tested 6 different types of promotions that ranges could run to attract the beginners, and 2 of them stood out. First one is, again, providing that package, everything that they need, because again, they don't know what they need. They're not going to spend the money fearing buying the wrong product. But if they know they can go to a range and everything is ready for them to try, they can learn, then they'll be much more willing to visit you. Also, as mentioned before, they don't want to impede other shooters. They don't want to be a danger to others. They want to have people watching over them. So beginners only events, because yes, they are intimidated by regular participants, experts at the range. The beginners don't want to get in the way. They don't want to interfere. They feel they're stepping on someone else's grounds. They want to be not a hindrance. So if they know there's an event where they will not impede others, they'll be more likely to visit that range and give it a shot. Services that they want, there's a long list you'll see in the report. This is the top 6 services, but the common denominator is safety, safety, safety. It comes down to their personal safety, the safety of everybody else in the range, mandatory instruction, places for beginners like them to learn safely. It comes down to safety. Again, details are in the full report. To wrap it up here, my final slide is just the summary thoughts. Number one, can't say it enough. You have to emphasize safety. Every image, every ad, every communication, you either mention it, you imply it, or you show it. Safety has to be paramount. Second is your communications, your promotions needs to show that you are welcoming, not just to people who look like them, but also to beginners. That's the number one thing they want. They don't want to, again, they don't want to be intimidated. They don't want to be stared at. They don't want to interfere with others. Are you welcoming to beginners? And if you can show, you don't have to show the full mix of the spectrum of races and ethnicity. You just need to maybe show one or two that says, hey, you don't have to be from the traditional audience. And if you're a beginner, we want you here. That's what they need to see in your imagery and your ads. So with that, I'm going to flip back over to Jim.
All right, so we talked a little bit about taking action, and I'm super proud of Kentucky Department of Fish and Game for taking action through another multi-state conservation grant. Again, kudos to Fish and Wildlife and AFWA for allowing that funds to go through for projects like these, because we know, again, that we want more people out in the woods and on the water and at the range. And the Kentucky Department of Natural Resources, working with some other organizations as well. Outdoor Stewards Come With program throughout the year, throughout 2025, we're going to be working with them to promote the Come With program. And it's that simple, challenge your current customers. And Kentucky Fish and Wildlife has 310 active hunters on their database, target shooters. So during turkey season, we said, hey, turkey hunting is better together. A couple people, smiles, no firearms. And then you can put these on social media and just add some additional information, link back to your website where there's more information about where to go. And currently we're just kicking off here the Take Someone Shooting this summer. Come with, again, 2 simple words, and we'll be doing that with deer hunting and with trapping throughout the year. So if you are a state DNR and you know the folks at Kentucky, feel free to reach out to them. If you're, any organization can use those 2 simple words, come with, just reach out to us for some support there, and we can walk you through that, no problem. I think we're going to bring it back to Scott to close us out a little bit. Oh, if you want more information on this full report, other than the webinar, there's a lot more detail on outdoorstewards.org. So visit that site and you'll find more information. And now back to Scott.
Thanks, Jim. So a couple things. If you've enjoyed this webinar, this is going to be on the council's YouTube page. So this will be a resource that you'll be able to share with your team. And if you enjoyed this content, you want more of it, you want to be on the ground with the people who are doing this type of work, I just would throw out a save the date, May 4th to the 7th in 2026. The National R3 Symposium will be in Des Moines, Iowa. More to come on that. We just selected a venue. It's a great facility. I think it's a perfect size facility for our event. Last year's symposium drew over 200 R3 professionals from multiple industries. So we'd love to see you there. And then let's bring up Jim and Rob's contact information, and we'll get into the Q&A. I have a couple questions filtering in here. First question, and it says, not sure if you covered it, but who was involved in the survey for this research? Were these kind of everyday people?
Yes, the 2 surveys we ran to generate the information were both samples of the U.S. general population. So everybody had an equal chance of getting into the survey. The screener question was, have you ever been target shooting before? So those who said no qualified, went on. Those who had been target shooting, even they may have discontinued, were kicked out of the survey. And then at that point, we asked them what's their level of interest in trying target shooting. So if they said on a scale of 1 to 5, they said my high level interest of 4 or a 5, they stayed in the survey. Everybody else was asked 1 or 2 additional questions, but those that showed the high level qualified. We kept doing that until we had 500 of each of the 4 audiences, the Asian, African American, Hispanic, and white Caucasian markets.
Okay. And let's see so this one's a little bit long and a little bit theoretical. It says, COVID had very significant impact on producing new shooters. How do we retain those shooters since the numbers are only showing the surface numbers and not particularly exploring the reasons those shooters became engaged, other than shooting is usually outside and is considered a safe sport during COVID?
Yeah, I think, it's information, right? We know, again, we talked about the 3 R's and now 3 S's, but there's also 3 I's, and that's providing information, providing an invitation, and even incentivizing it a little bit. And there's so many disciplines when it comes to target shooting, whether it's, you know, you just join a local league or come to a state-run facility or, practice or come learn about personal protection. So I think, if we know we've got all these folks, and we know just like any activity, there's a lot of attrition, whether it's fishing or hunting or bowling or whatever, but you have to just communicate to these folks and just say, "Hey, I hope you had a good time at the range," or, "There's this opportunity to learn something new. Have you ever tried sporting clays? Come out and learn. Have you ever tried steel? Come out and learn." Because not for nothing, I mean, you go to an indoor range and shoot paper, and, that's only, fun for so long, right? You wanna try something new and different. So I think that's one way, is to provide information on all the different opportunities to have some fun with that firearm.
I would add to that is that there was a drop, as Jim had mentioned. We lost 10 million shooters, but that's from the peak, from the post-COVID peak. We knew we couldn't retain all of them for the reasons that the person writing the question stated. Some people did it because they couldn't do their usual activities. Well, our job was to retain them, help them see that target shooting is just as fun, if not more fun, than their traditional activities. But a lot of people still went back to what they were doing before, but they've already been exposed to it. So reaching back and the reactivation efforts, it's important, as Jim had mentioned already, how to do that. So I mean that the big drop has come down from a record peak to lower level, but darn it, we need to get them engaged the ways Jim just talked about.
Thanks for that. And I want to just remind everybody on the webinar that, again, we're taking questions on the chat option at the bottom of the screen. And then Jim, I come from a state that is much hotter than where you are, and a lot of the indoor ranges did a pretty good job of dressing up the backdrop of their shooting range. They would put in cardboard backdrops. So just because if you have limited facility and you're indoor, kind of a cramped space, you can still try to make it more fun and create themed environments. And we've definitely seen that social organizations that get involved in these things, different themes are very popular. So next question is, do you have any examples of how this information is being used by industry?
Sure. You wanna start, Rob?
Yeah. We work a lot with individual companies on doing this very sort of thing, not including this study, but there's similar research in the past. Their applications are very similar to state R3 efforts. Like anyone else, they don't want to spend money and time sending messages to people who are not going to respond. So this results allow them to really focus in, not just on the communities to approach with the message, but even the message itself. These results, instead of taking a shotgun approach to all potential shooters, allows you to put on the laser sight and focus in on specific topics and really speak to them, speak to the heart, speak to their core interest, and be more effective. So every hour you spend, every dollar you spend trying to attract, whether it's a new customer or for a state, whether it's a new participant in R3, you'll get more bang for the buck. A lot of bad puns here, but you'll be more effective, get more people to participate or buy your product by speaking to their core needs. And that's what this study does, is really digs down deeper and shows what the core motivations and messages are to get people to respond and come out to the range and buy a specific product.
And there was a couple programs when I worked with National Shooting Sports Foundation that were super impressive, been around forever and are proven to work. So just Google first shots, NSSF first shots. There's plenty of information on how to go do about it. You can either run exactly what they have for you and call it first shots, or do something very similar to it. And the industry also started when I was with NSSF. We had a program called Mentoring Rewarded that morphed into the Plus One program. And basically, it was the 3 I's, right? Provide information, how to get started, and have that invitation and then incentivize it. And the incentives we used at the time, I think we were working with industry companies, but like Buck Knives and Walker's Game Gear, and they would come on, have their influencers or do some of their staff come on and say, hey, if you introduce somebody new and tell us your story, send us a photo, send us a video. We'll post your photos, in our newsletters or on our social media. And you also, the first 1,000 that respond will get a free Buck knife. And I tell you what, you got some great stories, all authentic, all, original. And so you'll have plenty of content for your social media team too, to post on your, sometimes you're struggling for content. So it's a great way to get content as well.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Starting to get a few more activity on the chat line here. So this one's again for the panel in general. How do you get around agency marketing restrictions, state wildlife agency marketing restrictions towards shooting? A little out of the scope here, but it sounds like you guys may have some input on that.
Well, the first thing, like I said earlier, we already got in Facebook jail for posting a photo with guns and this, that, the other thing. So I would say there's ways to post, photos. I mean, to post things on social media that don't that depict going target shooting or that so you can look at developing different types of photographs. Now, I'm not familiar with all 50 state agencies. I know your hands are tied in a lot of that. Maybe Scott, you have some more experience there, so you could maybe
That's
give
what I'd
some
say.
tips.
Back to you.
You're right. I have banged my head against that wall quite a bit. In general, it just seemed like finding out who is that decision maker, who's that gatekeeper, and maybe having lunch with them and trying to figure out some wordsmithing. For the longest time, we weren't able to quote unquote market with multi-state grant dollars, but we could outreach and just being creative with the language in a positive manner just to try to succeed in your mission. It takes some persistence, and this is kind of a full-time job, and it's a struggle because a lot of times the state agencies, the range coordinator is wearing a lot of hats, right? So you've got to leverage partnerships and let go a little bit of control and maybe work with your public affairs branch to try and find that messaging that's going to resonate and get through the gatekeeper, if you will. The other thing that I can't help but think about is in R3 in general, when we think about our R3 events in the field for hunting and fishing, there was a huge change in our industry about a decade ago when we finally started breaking through and stopped doing events that we wanted to go to and engaged in the public and found out what do you want to do, right? And we always just thought we were the experts, and we really weren't. And so you mentioned engaging with the public, finding out, and this research gives us a great stepping point and a guide to start doing that. But once you get them in your buildings, you still have to keep that conversation going, and you want to keep trying to do things that are going to be exciting and interesting to them. So that would be my 2 cents on that.
I'll add just one last thought to that for the next question is that I'm a numbers guy. I have not worked in the state, Scott, you have. But I would pass on to the gatekeeper who might be blocking any efforts in target shooting by telling them that there are 2 times as many target shooters in the US as hunters. So it's a larger audience and they are a constituent. On top of that, when it comes to excise tax revenues, 3/4 of that comes from target shooting, not hunting. So we have to reinvest, and we reinvest in R3 to maintain participation and increase participation in target shooting.
That's a solid point. Thanks for reminding us of that, Rob. That's the sustainability of the organization, right? All right, we're getting on to some bigger topics. This one's a little long, so bear with me here. We have avoided messaging around protection of self, family, and home, and focused on safety, fun form of recreation, skill building. But it seems that the largest motivation category is people wanting to learn shooting for protection. As again, as a state agency, we would not like to be accused of encouraging people to go buy guns and think we could get a lot of negative press from the anti-gun folks. Any thoughts about how to subtly imply protection message without naming it outright? That's a fair challenge.
Yeah, I think we're doing that because you asked, we know protection. We saw that one of the top 4 reasons is protection. But in order to be able to protect yourself at home and away from home, you have to have the skills and you want to meet the challenge of learning how to do it. So skill building is another major motivation. And we saw that in the results here too. It's in the report when they download it. They want to learn to fire a fire gun. That's really particular, more so in the African American market, just slightly more so. They want to know how to do it, build the skills for protection purposes. So if you don't feel comfortable saying, learn to shoot to protect yourself, protect your family, say, come gain the skills in firearm ownership. Learn how to shoot safely, learn how to shoot properly. Why? Well, they'll know why. They want to do it because they want to protect themselves at home. So they'll make the connection. If you tell them you can learn to use a firearm safely and properly, overcome the challenge and learn how to do it, they'll automatically connect it to the reason why they want to do it. And that's to protect themselves. Because we do know a lot of our target shooters are not doing it because it's recreation. They're doing it because they want to have that ability to protect themselves, protect their families.
I don't think we think about it that way, at least as state employees. I don't think we thought about it that way. I think that's a tremendous insight. Thank you for that. So with that, we've completed the questions in the queue. I'll give one last call for questions, and I really want to thank Jim and Rob for their time and their work on the research with the support of DJ Case. And I want to thank everyone who attended the webinar and bringing their questions forward for the community. Once again, this probably not today, but by the end of the week, this webinar will be posted on the council's YouTube channel. And stay tuned. The national webinar series, we have already got our next topic planned, so you should be seeing a note coming out about that in short order, probably in a month or two. And if you have an idea for a webinar, you have a success story or a cautionary tale, you want to get in front of the industry, please reach out to us. We'd love to share these opportunities with the industry. So with that, I'm not seeing any questions. I want to thank everybody for their time today. And have a great day. Thanks again, Rob and Jim and Lance. Thanks for making this happen for us.